Furious Corp is a portfolio level yield optimization platform focused on video, TV and video, but we have really in the last 18 months settled into a core competence of linear yield optimization. For us, yield optimization, which is ultimately maximizing and optimizing revenue and profitability of a seller's advertising business. We found that, and we believe this is a strategic business function. So it's all we do, and it's what we do best and well. And if you unpack sort of yield, I think it's important to understand the two levers of yield optimization for a seller of advertising are price and inventory allocation or utilization. So that's what we really help them understand is, as we talked about throughout the last couple of days at the retreat, the television business is getting more and more complex. The number of products, the number of platforms, this sort of how we merchandise that and how we price it and the currencies with which we measure it, all they're doing is increasing. And we really help mitigate that complexity by ultimately allowing for the productization, package, and pricing of inventory across all sales channels and all platforms for television.
Can you give us some specifics as to what you've been doing for some clients?
Sure. So maybe I take a step back and sort of do a retrospective of the last couple years, right? So we founded the company in 2014. Largest investor was Nielsen. In 2015, we really thought we would do is identify a couple key strategic clients and really define the requirements, build the platform, get some data from a few clients, and then we used some anonymized respondent level data from Nielsen, some Grace Note data, built sort of an emulator for a linear programming grid, and thought we would get to a yield optimization solution. And what we ultimately found and what we learned about television is that every client, specifically every media company or seller of advertising, is a snowflake. Their data, their systems infrastructure, how the workflows and their legacy trafficking systems were, the business rules were implemented, it's all unique, and all of that makes a unique fingerprint for each of our prospective customers or existing customers, right? And so what we found is that using that small subset of a few clients and some anonymized emulated data wasn't enough. When we really started the pressure test, the algorithms to predict and forecasting is the foundation of effective and working yield optimization process. We found that our forecasting and our pricing and inventory management or an allocation solutions it wasn't enough. They weren't good enough. So we took a step back, and last year in 2016, we onboarded more than 15 media companies, mostly from sort of North America. The US, predominantly the largest media companies onto the platform, come hook or come crook. And with 7 of those 15, we conducted what we call a revenue leakage analysis. So ultimately what we did with those clients is we took a minimum of sort of a year of transactional data, and this is campaign level data, spot level data for some, sort of the MVPDs, and we unpacked yield, right? So we looked at pricing, and we looked at inventory utilization. And across most of those clients, what we found was that ultimately pricing inefficiency and the lack of sort of optimized pricing was what was driving a lot of the cannibalization of yield or the revenue that was leaking as a result of it, right? So for example, when you start to, one of the things you can do very simply is plot key CPM pricing for campaigns. So x-axis is CPM per campaign. The y-axis could be the total amount of spend by a client in a year. It could be the total value of the deal in dollars, or it could be the volume of inventory consumed in this deal. And you'd think that it would cluster around a rate card of some sort, right? Because most businesses are still, at least they suggest, they're run and driven by, the TV business is a rate card driven business. But ultimately, when you start to unpack consistently every client, you see such extreme volatility in pricing, and that is ultimately what is driving the opportunity cost of not maximizing yield. And with the exception of syndication being where that's really about more an inventory efficiency and utilization opportunity. So really what we did is we went back to these multiple clients and we said, okay, had we had yield optimization in place, had we had better forecasting and predicting, but we actually had a transactional actual data to look at, how would we have done things differently or better? And with those clients, we have found when you look at both inventory and pricing optimization combined to provide yield optimization, we have not found less than a 9.5% lift in top line revenue had sort of a portfolio level yield optimization solution like ours been in place. I mean, obviously that's our math, right? So that's our data science and math. We're suggesting that we do it better than anyone else. But ultimately, it's not just that we don't have the data science or we don't have the systems in place or we haven't integrated all the infrastructure, et cetera. Ultimately, these are business control processes. Yield optimization is as much about how you implement business processes. It's a mindset. It's not just some formulas or an API or a systems integration, right? And it has to be done at a business level. Yield optimization is a business planning process. It's not a operational transaction-driven process. And if we're doing our job well, because this is all we do, if we're doing it well, we are making all of the existing technology, both legacy and digital, be better, faster, stronger, and work harder for all of our clients. Because ultimately, portfolio level yield optimization is very different than transaction impression by impression or avail level optimization, which is not what we do. And so I think going back to the theme of the conference, we as a new player in the market, now that dynamic pricing and pricing optimization are conversations that a lot of traditional TV sellers are ready to have and are starting to ask to have. We find that ultimately that collaboration and willingness to sort of say, how do we make what you have today work harder for you to be a great place to start the yield optimization conversation.